What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here at Lake Julian Disc Golf Course looking at some distance drivers underneath the plastic conspiracies mindset, because while this one does include Discmania, it kind of encompasses more of house and discs in general, and that is how overstable, numbers flight-wise comparatively, are some of the dynamic discs that might be given some of the same flight numbers as, say, well, this PD2, which is 12404. The hotly contested dynamic disc Sockibomb General also boasts the same flight numbers. But I don't think it's going to be that stable. This is in their Grand Orbit, Royal Grand Orbit plastic, and hotly contested because when these first came out, they were $35 for the stock stamp. $35 for a base disc, brand new run. So, do we want all of that? Do we want to pay that much for a disc that might potentially not even be that overstable? Let's go ahead and test it. We're going to throw the Sky Stone first, go backhand flex off the long tee here, and then we'll go for the General. And let's see, this one definitely has more dome. It's a little bit more pop-toppy, similar to like the Innova pop top. So let's see, PD2 or General. Or just a pure hyzer. Just flat to hyzer, I guess. See, I don't think it's going to be the same disc. Like, you can call it the same flight numbers, but for the most part, dynamic discs seem to be pretty understable. And one of the main things I think that makes the PD2 so reliably overstable every single time is, well, going to be the profile. It has a very similar, the PD has this, the Destroyer also has this. It's almost this flat spot on the top of the rim, which makes this thickness here run further out along the rim before it starts to drop off. This, as you can see, is much more of a gradual drop off. This one has much more of a sharp, aggressive drop off. So it's going to carry more thickness further out onto the rim, making the edge more blunt, making it catch more wind, making it slow down sooner, making it fall out of the sky faster. The bottom of the wing seems pretty similar. So the top of the wing, and the fact that this one is pretty consistent up to where it gets pretty mostly flat at the top. It's just a very soft dome all the way across. Whereas this has that almost Innova style pop top dome that is just, when a disc is overstable, it's going to make it extremely overstable because of the glide there. We're going to go forehand on this hole. And we're gonna go General first. The General held almost laser beam straight before just a soft gradual fade. So even if it's always going to fade, I wouldn't classify it as an 04 because it didn't fade at a 4 fade. And when I look at the fade number on a disc, what I'm looking at is the aggressive angle of drop as it's fading. So this is about a 1, this is about a 2, this is about a 3, this is, and as it goes down, it gradually, the fade number goes up and it becomes more stable. So for drivers, for it to be a 4, it kind of has to slice over, and the Glidier Skystone did it better than the flatter, slicier General, which is confusing to me. Right now we have a little bit of head, but mostly left to right wind. So pump them out here, try to keep them mostly flat. Don't expose them too much hyzer too early. It's just so straight. That has the numbers of a PD2, but kind of has the flight of a destroyer, like a nice stable destroyer. So, I mean, I still wouldn't pay $35 for a destroyer. On anhyzer, it is still more overstable than the flat or hyzer release of the General. While the General is a nice overstable disc, it's not PD2 stable. So the conspiracy here kind of comes from the fact that, if you're going to make a disc that's supposed to be super overstable, and then you're going to charge an exorbitant amount because of weird House of Discs issues that they've been having for the last couple of years. If you're going to make a disc and call it the super overstable option, and then you're going to charge us that much money for it, please make it actually be that overstable. That flies like a stable destroyer, not like a super beef PD2. And I think another conspiracy that I've thought for a very long time actually is that different manufacturers give their flight numbers based off of specific release angles. So certain companies, aka Discraft being one of the main ones, seems to be a lot more geared towards a hyzer release for their flight numbers, whereas Innova seems to be a lot more geared towards flat or flex shots for their flight numbers. The same thing is true among the House of Discs families. The PD2 is actually that overstable, and Discmania does a pretty good job at saying, this disc is overstable, we're going to number it as overstable, whereas a lot of the dynamic discs that I've thrown, let's take for example the Escape versus the CD1, both very similar discs. You get a Lucid Ice Escape, kind of flippy. You get a C-Line CD1, basically the same plastic, and suddenly you have a pretty overstable PD replacement. Dynamic discs, for some reason, they seem to number it based off of a hyzer release, whereas Discmania is a little bit more of a power throwers, flat to flex shot company. Which is why I've kind of always been a little bit more Innova Discmania, because I've always kind of been a little bit more of a flat to flex shot person. But now that I'm throwing a little bit more of hyzers, or trying to throw more hyzers, do I need to switch to something more like dynamic discs where it kind of forces me to throw on hyzer? Or do I try to keep sticking with what discs are comfortable for me? All right, they're clear. We're done talking. The headwind is now a headwind. It was a crosswind on the last couple holes. Headwind now. Let's see, we're gonna flex the PD2 first. Well, it fought out of it, but I threw it way too low for that shot. This one I'm gonna try to push pretty flat again. And let's see how straight it holds. That's a stable destroyer, not a PD2. I threw it on a tiny bit of hyzer and it flipped up to flat, rode there for a while, and then had a gradual fade off. That sounds like a destroyer, not a 12404. You see where the conspiracy is coming from? You see where the numbers are not really mixing up for me. They're not matching. As far as the plastics are concerned, Discmania S-Line does not start out that stable, and it beats up pretty quick. And this is a used PD2. Whereas the Royal Grand Orbit, while it does beat up pretty quick, generally starts out pretty stable for the way the molds are made. My argument is that this mold isn't actually as stable as you think this mold is. It's just not. It's more destroyer. Honestly, it's probably more force, where it's like not as much fade as a super beef disc, but not as much flip up as the destroyer. It's probably more force than it is PD2, which is like 12403, I think, from Discraft. Anyways, we're gonna go PD2 first, and then General. We're gonna try to actually get them on some flex lines and watch how much quicker the Skystone wants to stable out, even though it has the dome that makes it want to hold onto the line. Well, you're not gonna be able to see that one very well, and the trees are definitely gonna help it stable out faster. So I need more air under the General. That is a destroyer flight. That's not a PD2 flight. I can never get the PD2 to hold that much. For me, the PD2 goes flex, bam. That held like a really flat, stable destroyer. So House of Discs, can we all get on the same page, please? I understand that Discmania is a little bit more of a newer addition to House of Discs, but it's confusing to a lot of new players, and a lot of the older players that have been playing for a while want a little more consistency. Please, is that too much to ask for? And even with the straighter, glidier version of PD2, I'm not really ever getting that much distance. This holds between 350 and 380. So this is about the right distance if I just throw it firm and flat out here to the right. Probably just to the right of the biggest, tallest pine tree, just barely above, maybe 5 to 10 feet above the power line. Let's go PD2, and then we go General, and watch if I can hit them both flat. Watch how they fade, because the PD2 dumps harder than the General does. Tiny bit of a grip block. That was about 30 feet right. Let's see if I can actually hit the line right. But the flight should be the same if the flight numbers are the same. But this is not that overstable. I threw it really low. But also it barely faded before it hit the ground. It went dead straight. Maybe it's the people's PD2. But when a name like Ricky Wysocki, who's known for his turnover flex shots, puts his name on a brand new, supposed to be super overstable disc, and that's the shot we get? Do you see where I'm coming from here? I guess this whole video to say, flight numbers are gonna vary company to company, and sometimes they vary within their own companies, and they're gonna vary from plastic to plastic, from run of plastic to run of plastic. And so you just, when I go pick up a disc in a store, I will look at it, I set it on the counter, I look at the parting line, I feel it. but I can't give you the knowledge I've had coming from feeling and throwing so many different types of discs. So you can take my word at face value, or you can go out and try for yourself. But there's only a couple ways for you to know how discs fly, and all I'm saying is that Dynamic Discs did Ricky dirty on this one. They really did. Let's go for max distance, see how far we can get this thing to push. If we can give it a little bit of Anheuser. I mean, that's a bomb. It's also not a PD2. When I think 12404, this is what I think of, which is why I also had the same issue when I threw the Champion Excalibur over the winter. It was actually probably flippier than that. It would flip up and turn over into a headwind. This, while I can get it to torque flip with enough headwind, it is overstable enough that it usually helps me out. Let's see if it'll hold for over 4 as long, but I really don't think it will. Yeah, nope. See why they're really two different discs, and they're from the same company, House of Discs. They're kind of from the same umbrella corporation from House of Discs. They have the same flight numbers. They're in kind of their same general idea of plastic, but they're two very different things because Dynamic and Discmania have different numbering systems. So figure out the numbering system that the company or companies you normally like to throw tend to go with, and then you'll at least have a baseline, you'll have a starting point to go with. Hopefully you guys enjoy content like this. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, make sure to comment all of that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. Definitely helps me out. And if you want to be automatically entered into monthly giveaways, check out the memberships. Until next time, see you out on the course.